There are no good men left out there.
Men are trash.
Women just don't really like men anymore.
252, why men piss me off.
Because men are the devil.
Because men are trash.
My problem is that I hate men, you know?
All men are awful.
If feminism is working, then why are so many women unfulfilled and complaining? Here's some hard truth. We were told that women are thriving, but the numbers say otherwise. Despite liberation, success, and visibility, women under 40 are now 30% more likely to be depressed, 2 times as likely to be on antidepressants. Over 50% of millennial women identify as being chronically anxious or emotionally burned out. And despite having more freedom, education, and income than any generation before them, more women are single, childless, and deeply disconnected than ever before. Meanwhile, the men that they say that they want aren't vanishing, they're just retreating. Not because they hate women, but because the women they meet are incapable of putting their relationship over their ego. I often hear things like, every time I lead, I get told that I'm controlling. So I stop showing up altogether. Or the moment I show standards, I'm told that I'm toxic. But if I have none at all, then I'm seen as weak. More importantly, I don't need a woman who makes 6 figures. I need a woman who respects my effort. These aren't just complaints. They are cries, pleas from good men who are tired of being shamed for wanting peace, mocked for desiring femininity, and completely dismissed for leading with character over clout. Modern feminism told women to be strong, independent, untouchable, and then blamed men when connection disappeared. But the deeper truth in all of this is that women didn't just lose men, good men. They lost themselves. They traded virtue for visibility, wisdom for vibes, respect for rebellion. And now, in the name of empowerment, many are exhausted, guarded, and confused as to why no men seem to stay. And they justify this under the common belief that there are no good men. Now, this video isn't an attack on women. It's a mirror, a wake-up call, a reality check on what good men actually want, and how modern beliefs, specifically towards feminism, might be the exact thing that is standing in your way. So in this video, I'm uplifting the voices of men who will tell you 17 hard truths as to what men actually want from a woman. And plot twist, it's not what you think. And this brings me to the first one. Honesty. With everyone I've dated, I've said I prioritize 3 qualities above all. Honesty with everything, because it'll build the foundation for trust. Even if it's something bad, let me know and allow me the agency to make my own decisions and react in my own way. This is what most people overlook when it comes to honesty. You need to have respect for him to make decisions in the presence of truth, not aiming to control what he thinks or how he feels by trying to control his perception. Because the hard truth is that when you do this, they don't fall in love with you, they fall in love with the perception of what they thought that you were. Number 2, loyalty. As he says, this should be a given, but people often expect loyalty without a willingness to give it. And can we even define what loyalty actually means? This means honoring your partner, your words, your commitments, relinquishing external validation, closing open doors, speaking highly of them in their presence or their absence, not putting yourself in a position to be perceived as single or otherwise available, setting clear boundaries with friends, family, and the opposite sex, and above all, never making them question where you actually stand. And number 3, reciprocity. Nothing shows me that you value the relationship as much as I do when you reciprocate what I put into the relationship. Doesn't have to be the same thing, but equal in what the other person finds valuable. When it comes to reciprocity, you can't want what you're unwilling to give. You cannot expect them to pour into you while you only give them nuggets to keep them there. Now, as he alluded to, when you give to your partner, specifically in a heterosexual relationship, the giving and receiving elements are not identical. This might look like acknowledging the effort that he puts into something, nurturing what he gives you as gifts, not things that you expect or are entitled to because they are gifts, and showing appreciation because you are not entitled to any of this. Alternatively, being proactive and picking up the duties that make his life easier while he's out there trying to make your life easier. It can't just be about what do I get from this? It has to be about what can I give to this? Now, in addition to honesty, I wanted to add one thing that I think is a little bit more important than just being honest. There's a layer of transparency that I believe is required for relationships to have a solid foundation of trust. This means not waiting for somebody to ask you, hey, did you talk to that person? Were you out with that person? Did you give them your number? It's like, hey, actually, I was out at this place. This guy approached me. He asked for my number and I said no. Nothing bad happened, but I would rather you hear that experience came from me than somebody that was there who witnessed this interaction. It could create a story that would make me look bad under false pretenses. When you lead with transparency, you are building trust by pouring in, hey, I want you to know this. Hey, I respect you enough to tell you the truth around this. And hey, I don't want you to hear about this encounter from somebody else and think that something else happened that didn't. Leading with transparency removes the friction of feeling like somebody's hiding something from you. Because if they're not being transparent and they only tell you the truth if and when you ask, then you're only being honest under the preface that somebody's asking you directly, hey, did you have an inappropriate encounter with somebody? And people don't usually just walk around telling people that. So if you can lead with transparency, honor honesty, and always speak with truth, you are in the category of a rare person. Next, we have appreciation. If I'm burning the candle at both ends, I'd expect some level of appreciation for doing so. Objectively speaking, I can live quite comfortably on my own without 200% go hard 28 hours a day effort. Add a woman to the equation and the stakes are much higher. So just acknowledging and appreciating the fact that she's a burden to some extent, but that I'm willingly accepting that when I don't really have to is essential to me. Men give up a lot to be with a woman after all. You cannot deny that for the most part, men bear the burden of responsibility for another human being when they get into a relationship. They work harder to feed more people, their expenses skyrocket, and they do this because they desire peace with deep connection. Now, appreciation isn't groveling. It's not putting your man on a pedestal. But a man providing for you is not something that should be expected from him. It is something that you earn by being what he needs you to be, so that in return, reciprocity, he is for you what you need him to be, and for himself, hopefully. As a woman, you should take pride in the fact that your man is out here doing these things to protect you, to provide for you and your family. But unfortunately, this stuff is often taken for granted, and what you take for granted eventually becomes invisible. And this brings me to the next one. A man wants to be loved, valued, and respected for who he is, not what he provides. He'll value a woman who is caring, nurturing, affectionate, and proud to be at his side through good times and tough times. Men, much like you, want to be loved for who they are, not just what they provide for you. Men want women who will stand by them through the depth of the darkest valley and not be shaken or moved. And those are the same women that men will fight to the ends of the earth to give you everything that you want and accomplish every desire, accomplishment, need, so that when he gets there, you stood by him the whole time. Men don't want women that only want them when they're successful and have status and power. Men want women who wanted them regardless of all of those things. And while he's pushing to pursue these things, men deserve, and I will say deserve, appreciation for their efforts. So appreciation is necessary, but loving that man for his character is the only thing that will make a relationship withstand the hardships of life. As for respect, this is most important during conflict and hard times. Not weaponizing his vulnerabilities, not seeking attention when it feels like there's distance, not emasculating him when he's trying to lead you, and not putting yourself out there for the masses to lust over when that should be something that is sacred between you two. And I know I shouldn't say should, but I believe that's correct. Next, I want to talk about something that seems to be quite controversial. Of all the traits a man could list, I think it all comes down to being his peace in a world of chaos and giving as much effort as he gives or is expected to give. Now, when people say peace, a lot of women will say a man wants peace because he is chaotic, right? And you're supposed to manage his chaos as a woman, when naturally women are much more chaotic. And I say this as a woman, we're a little bit more emotionally volatile, emotionally compelled. And we expect men to stand firm in the presence of our chaos, but we can't hold it down for him when he's going through stuff. But I digress. That's not what men mean when they say they want peace. What men mean is, please don't create problems that don't exist. Don't challenge every single decision that he wants to make. Stop pushing back when he's trying to look out for you, especially when you can't see it. Not being combative when it comes to every single uncomfortable conversation. And not projecting your wounds onto a man that did not create them in the first place. This means not weaponizing guilt or pity to get what it is that you want from him. And being oriented towards the same goal or same vision of your life, knowing that each of you have a part to play in making that happen. Which brings me to their next point. Accountability. And this one's gonna ruffle some titties. A lot of them find it impossible to apologize for absolutely horrid behavior. They also nag you to know what's wrong or what's bothering you, then scream at or belittle you when they don't like the answer. Many are not functional adults. I don't know which women needs to hear this today, but men are not always the problem. Whenever there is a conflict, it is not a one-sided issue. In a relationship, there are two people with histories, wounds, beliefs, worldviews, and perceptions. And these things will come into play in a relationship, specifically a romantic relationship, as they should. But each person in this conversation, women need to learn to take accountability for their efforts in creating the friction that the relationship experienced. Otherwise, this will not last, and it certainly will not be healthy long term. If you always put the burden of resolution on the man, he will never truly be resolved, and that relationship will erode over time. It takes dissolving your pride and dropping your ego, recognizing that the relationship is much more important than being right. And this brings me to their next point. Men want to be seen, women want to be heard. Men would love for their woman to see their character and give them the benefit of the doubt because they know who they are as a person. Being given credit and appreciation really goes a long way. Too many times we are gaslit or doubted. I alluded to this a bit earlier, but if you've been in a bad relationship that left you with some wounds, that is human and understandable. However, projecting that onto the next man only makes him pay the price for wounds he never created. You have to take responsibilities for your stories, perceptions, beliefs, reactions, and assumptions. And if you truly want a relationship to last, you have to give your partner the benefit of the doubt. In addition to this, I really wanted to add this piece. I don't know if it's been said or said this way, but men also need to feel heard and need to feel useful. We want our opinions to mean something. Not that we get our way all the time, but that our insights are valued. And we shouldn't have our feelings dismissed, even if the reason seems silly to you. To sum this up, men want to feel understood too. And feeling understood does not mean agreement, okay? But when you understand somebody, it means I'm open to hearing your perspective. I value hearing what you have to say, what you think, and I respect, even if we don't agree, what you believe to be correct here. It signals receptivity to their perspective, that their opinions are valued. As you want yours to be, theirs should be too. And this brings me to the next one, which I think is wildly overlooked in the modern landscape of social media, technology, and gossip everywhere. But that is privacy. The amount of men I know too much about because the gossip of their women is awful. Your relationship is not something that needs to be broadcasted in the group chat. You will face friction, disagreements, and maybe even some really brutal times. But these issues need to be discussed with your partner. And I also think it's really important to note that you chose this person. So when you are out here publicly disrespecting him, what do you think that says about you? No man wants a woman who cannot hold it down and shut her mouth in a difficult moment, who can't stand by him even when they face difficulty. Because there's no trust there if you're out here broadcasting his shortcomings, your friction, what you want to nitpick about him, whatever it might be. There's no trust in that dynamic. And once trust is broken, it's incredibly difficult to fix. This is where it's important to know when to just shut up and to confront issues with your partner, not your girls, unless you are done. Because if you're not and you're doing this, you might as well be. And this brings me to their next point, which I actually thought was very vulnerable. At the end of the day, we want to be wanted and needed, neither of which are true anymore. Men want to feel like they keep you safe. They want to feel like they protect you. They want to feel like the thing that makes you feel taken care of, like you can relax, like you're gonna be okay. And this is why the I don't need no man makes you completely avoidant, like a red flag, a walking red flag in men's eyes, because deep down, Men do want to feel needed. And it may be contrary to your current beliefs and perceptions that men care this deeply about women, but they want to feel like they're an important part of your life, a necessary element of fulfillment, and somebody who you would not want to do any ounce of life without. And this brings me to the next point, and I'm going to leave this as it's written because I thought it was simple yet effective. Loyal, be loyal to your man, which we've covered. Trust and respect, do what you say, be respectful in how you say it. Good ethics and morals, do unto others as you have them do to you. Nurture of the family, be there for your family, be self-sacrificing without an expectation that the world revolves only around you. Communication, talk to me about what's going on with us and our commitments. Be humble enough to listen and stout enough to voice objections. This is where men don't want you just to submit, meaning shut the fuck up and don't ever say anything and your opinions aren't anything I'm going to listen to ever. That's not what they mean. Hear it here first from a dude. I'm just the voice, but you know, you get it. Emotional regulation, control your emotions and stay level-headed. Work ethic, be willing to work hard and make the hard choices that life requires. Lastly, intimacy matters. Do not use sex as a carrot. Use it to be closer to me and build connection and trust. That's a good start. Do not weaponize sex. Do not punish your husband for not doing every little thing that you wanted him to do and like using sex as the gambling chip. Sex is a mechanism for connection and intimacy. It is a beautiful tool to be used, a beautiful experience to be felt with somebody that you love more than anything in the world. Truly. But weaponizing that is not healthy. That does not mean you are required to have sex anytime he wants you to have sex. It means don't use it as a form of punishment. Okay, that's toxic. And this brings me to my next point, well, their next point, which is something I hear all the time from men. Men don't want to open up and be vulnerable just to have it all thrown back at you in the end or eventually. Just a thought. Women say that they want emotionally intelligent men. They want open men. They want vulnerable men. They want men who are intuitively, emotionally here, but also have the ability to fucking conquer the world. And the problem with that is the moment that they open up to a woman and they experience or express vulnerability, you load that shit into a quiver, you save it for a rainy day or the next conflict you have, and you throw it right back in their face. Now, most men don't actually do that. I would say women do that primarily, but you have no idea how bad that feels. When you trust somebody with your vulnerability and they weaponize it in a point of conflict to win, that is gross behavior. Gross behavior. Stop doing it. And if you have a man who is vulnerable with you, you need to see it as your responsibility in any moment, under any condition, to protect that man from that wound. You do not poke at it, stab it, rip it open because you feel prideful and you need to win. You are not ready to be in a relationship if you do not have the ability to practice restraint in a moment of friction. And this brings me to their next point. Life is messy even when you do have a cooperative partner. One very simple ask is to just not add to the problems that we already have. The other is having empathy and understanding. If the car tire goes flat on a rainy night, I would appreciate if she got out with me to hold the light. That's a huge ask nowadays. So the next best thing is to just be patient. I do not need any complaints like how much longer or a real man would have been finished by now. I hate when women say a real man would. Okay. And when it does finally get done, a simple thank you is the bare minimum repayment for my labor. Again, I cannot emphasize enough, you are not entitled to the work that men are capable of doing for you just because you are a woman. You earn these things. You don't deserve these things. If you want a man to show up and take care of you, you need to practice gratitude and appreciation for the effort that he puts into taking care of you. Because like it or not, most women do not want to provide for men. And the reason for that is it is pressure. It feels like a burden. It's just not our natural intuitive role, okay? I could never be a man because I even say this to my husband often. I could never do what he does. I could never live under that level of pressure to provide for our family, to make sure that I get whatever I want, which is why I'm very intentional about not saying I want anything. Because I know he would set his sights on making sure I could have it. And I don't need it, I want him. But being grateful for the efforts that they put in to make sure that your car has gas, to make sure that you have an umbrella, to make sure that your door is open. Like all these little things that you just take for granted because you're like, I deserve a man who. You don't deserve anything. You are a human. Men are humans. They are equal. We need, desire, play different roles and things, but you don't deserve him giving you the world while you sit there and do fucking nothing. And this brings me to my next point. Essentially a partner with whom you can build a life. Someone that turns the word home from meaning a place to meaning a person. That is probably the best outline I can give you as far as what people, women included, because my goal was to have somebody I could do life with, right? I wanted to be an active contributor. That was me personally. But having somebody that you can build something worthwhile in, something that makes your life better, greater, more purposeful, like there's nothing better than that. But I think that that's a very simple way to say, how do you know you're with the right person? Is they change the term of home from a place to a person. I think that was beautifully said. And lastly, I think this is a very important piece of advice for men. Honestly, I think if you give more normal guys a chance and unplug from the female collective conscious that exists online, it would at least tell you what you actually looking for in a guy. Best way I can explain this. I think this is probably, within the modern world, the best way to express why women continue to chase the Chaz and Tyrones, as my male audience would say. It's because women always look for the outlier, right? Status, power, attractiveness plays a role for sure, but more status and resources. And they do this under the premise, the delusion that they are the exception. You need to stop believing that you can change men who might have status but zero character. And you need to start understanding the difference between what you think you want and what you need. Because it's not that there are no good men. It's the fact that the men that you are chasing reinforce this belief that there are no good men, because they're all less than honorable contributors to the male species. And as a woman, again, this is not an attack, but at some point you have to take accountability and do some introspection to ask yourself, while I pursue these types of men, do I ever feel safe? Do I ever feel whole? Do I ever feel fulfilled? Or am I chasing the things that I was told by society, my friends, my parents, your culture, that you should want, that will make you the woman, right? Ego-oriented pursuits and using a partner as a vehicle for that. Because contrary to what the internet wants you to believe, there are plenty of good men out there. They just want nothing to do with women who are solely focused on themselves and what they get and what they deserve and what they're entitled to. What I want you to notice, if you're a woman watching this and you've made it to this point, is that all these things that these men mentioned are not based on aesthetics. They're based on your character. So while you might be focused on fitting into the cultural beauty standards, which are made by women for women, men care a lot more, not only, but a lot more about the substance of your character. Now, if you are a woman and you've watched this to this point, I do want to commend you. These are not comfortable things to confront, and at some points these statements might have been uncomfortable. I'm not telling you that you have to change. If you want to live your life in this empowerment paradigm, that sure, that is your choice. But if it's not giving you the things that you want out of life, then I would encourage you to maybe shift that paradigm and just be open to seeing how things might be different if you humbled yourself a bit. And if you're a man watching this video, feel free to leave a comment on anything that I might have missed. Because I do believe that the only solution to this modern gender war that we're experiencing is to get both sides talking, listening, and understanding one another, even if at the end of the day, you still disagree. Now, if you liked this video, then I think you'll like this one too. And if not, then respectfully, fuck off.